Welcome to the EI Interior Design, hidden kitchen storage ideas, how I use 19th century armoires in my tiny Paris apartment.
When I first moved into my tiny Paris apartment, the kitchen nearly made me pack my bags and go home. 3 linear meters of counter space, 1 window the size of a paperback novel, and storage? Practically non-existent. But then I discovered something that changed everything. The 19th century French armoire. What exactly is a 19th century armoire? Before we go further, let me clarify what I mean. A 19th century French armoire is a large, freestanding wooden cabinet, typically oak, walnut, or fruitwood, made between roughly 1800 and 1910. These pieces were the original built-ins, serious, beautiful, and built to outlast everything else in the room. Why the French kitchen was never about the kitchen. Here's something most people don't realize about traditional Parisian apartment life. The kitchen was never the star. It was the supporting character, functional, tucked away, purposeful. Storage was hidden behind beautiful doors. Nothing sat on display unless it deserved to be seen. That philosophy still works brilliantly today. The problem with modern small kitchen solutions. I've tried the modern alternatives: wire shelving units, magnetic knife strips, over-the-door organizers. They all solve one problem while creating another: visual noise. In a tiny kitchen, clutter on every surface makes the whole room feel like a storeroom. There had to be a more elegant, more French solution. 5. My first armoire, a market find that changed everything. I found her at the Marquet aux Puces de Saint-Ouen on a drizzly Saturday morning. A tall, narrow oak armoire from around 1880, doors slightly warped, hinges tarnished, interior smelling of old lavender sachets. I paid very little for her. What I got in return was, quite literally, my entire kitchen storage. Six, sizing an armoire for a compact kitchen space. The genius of armoires for small kitchens is their verticality. Mine stands 210 centimeters tall and only 65 centimeters deep, narrower than most modern refrigerators. It occupies a corridor corner that previously held nothing but a mop and a sense of frustration. Measure twice, friends. These pieces fit where you'd least expect. Interior shelving, adapting Victorian storage for modern pantry needs. Original armoire shelving was designed for folded linens and stacked china, not tins of chickpeas and olive oil. My first practical step was adjusting the shelf heights. I added 2 extra shelves using salvaged oak planks from a builder's reclaim yard, creating 5 tiers that now hold everything from dried pasta to cast iron. pantry zone, dry goods, tins, and the art of visual calm. The upper 3 shelves became my dry pantry. Tins decanted into matching ceramic jars. Pasta in glass containers. Spices in small apothecary bottles with handwritten labels. When I open those armoire doors, what I see is calm, organized, almost beautiful. Cooking in a tiny kitchen begins with what you see before you start. Using the lower shelves, oils, vinegars, and heavy items. Heavy items belong low. This is simple physics and genuinely important safety. My lower 2 shelves hold olive oils, wine vinegars, cast iron pans, and a heavy marble mortar and pestle. Stored low, they're easy to retrieve and never destabilize the piece. The armoire handles the weight beautifully. Victorian oak was made for this. The door interiors. Every surface is potential storage. Here's something I wish someone had told me sooner. The inside of armoire doors is prime real estate. I fitted mine with small brass cup hooks along both door interiors. Now home to measuring cups, kitchen scissors, a hand whisk, and my favorite aprons. Zero floor footprint. Pure, hidden utility. Adding lighting. Why a small interior light transforms everything. This small detail elevated everything. I fitted a battery-operated LED strip along the upper interior frame. When the doors open, the armoire glows softly from within. It makes finding things at a glance genuinely effortless. And, I'll admit this freely, it looks rather beautiful. Small improvements with outsized daily impact. A second armoire, when one isn't enough. Six months after the first armoire, I found a slightly smaller companion piece, a two-door fruitwood cabinet from around 1895. This became my dedicated appliance and equipment armoire. Stand mixer, blender, slow cooker, all hidden beautifully behind closed doors. My kitchen worktops finally achieved something I never expected: actual breathing room. Appliance storage done the French way. Out of sight, out of mind. There's a particular pleasure, and I mean a genuine, daily pleasure, in not seeing your blender first thing in the morning. The French instinct to contain and conceal kitchen equipment isn't snobbery, it's spatial intelligence. When appliances live inside the armoire, your kitchen becomes a room you actually want to stand in. 14. Handling the smell. Ventilating an antique pantry cabinet. One practical note I want to share honestly. Old armoires can carry residual mustiness. Before using mine for food storage, I cleaned the interior thoroughly with white vinegar, aired it for a full week with the doors open, and placed cedar blocks on each shelf. The smell disappeared entirely within a fortnight. Worth every bit of effort. (15) Food safety inside an antique cabinet. What you need to know. A question I'm frequently asked. Is it safe to store food in antique furniture? With sensible precautions, absolutely yes. Keep food in sealed containers, glass or ceramic preferred. Avoid storing fresh produce or refrigerated items inside. Treat the interior with food-safe beeswax or natural linseed oil. Let old wood breathe, and it repays you generously. The aesthetic argument. Why antique beats flat pack every time. I want to make a genuine opinion here, not just a decorating preference. A 19th century armoire makes a small kitchen more beautiful than any modern storage unit ever could. Its proportions are human-scaled. Its grain is alive with history. It doesn't look like a product. It looks like a decision made by someone with genuine taste. 17. Sourcing armoires without spending a fortune. You do not need to spend serious money on this. My 2 armoires cost a combined total that I'd comfortably describe as modest. The best sources: French flea markets, local estate sales, online platforms like Le Bon Coin or eBay France, and rural antique dealers outside Paris who move pieces cheaply rather than transport them. Patience is the only premium you pay. What to look for, and what to walk away from. When shopping armoires for kitchen use, check these things. Structural solidity first. Press on the frame, test the hinge points. Then check the interior for woodworm, which shows as tiny round holes in the timber. Minor surface damage is fine and often adds character. Major structural weakness is a project, not a purchase. Know the difference. 19. The restoration process. How much work is actually required? Mine required relatively little. A clean interior, new shelf supports, and oiled hinges. I chose not to refinish the exterior. The patina of 140 years of use is irreplaceable and adds precisely the warmth that makes this kitchen feel like it belongs in Paris and nowhere else. Restoration doesn't always mean renovation. Styling the armoire exterior, when closed doors become a design feature. The closed armoire is as important as the open one. On top of mine, I've styled a small vignette, a vintage French enamel canister set, a single small framed botanical print, and a trailing pothos plant. This transforms a storage piece into a focal point. In a tiny kitchen, every surface contributes to the overall narrative. how the armoire changed my daily cooking ritual. I didn't expect this. Having a beautifully organized armoire pantry changed how I cook. I know exactly what I have. I see it immediately. I'm not excavating a cluttered cupboard before starting a recipe. There's a quiet dignity to a kitchen where everything has a considered place, and it makes the act of cooking genuinely more enjoyable. "22. What my French neighbors think, an unexpected validation." When my elderly neighbor Madame Renard first saw the armoire in my kitchen, she nodded slowly and said, "C'est comme avant." That's how it used to be, before cheap built-ins, before fitted kitchens, before we decided that function should be ugly. In her one quiet sentence was the entire philosophy I'd stumbled into by instinct. 23. The environmental argument. Why antique is always the greenest choice. Here's a perspective I feel strongly about. Buying a 19th century armoire is one of the most genuinely sustainable choices you can make in home furnishing. No new materials, no factory production, no shipping container from overseas. A piece that was built to last centuries, already has, and properly cared for, will continue to do so long after we're gone. "24. For anyone over 50, why this approach suits your life particularly well." If you're in your 50s, 60s, or beyond, you've already understood something the younger generations are just beginning to discover. Quality objects that age gracefully are worth more than cheap things replaced annually. The armoire is that principle made physical. It rewards patience, rewards care, and gets more beautiful, not less, with every passing decade. 25. Conclusion. The armoire that turned a problem into a philosophy. What began as a desperate solution to an impossibly small kitchen became something far more meaningful. A daily reminder that beautiful living and practical living are not opposites. That old things deserve second lives. That a cramped Parisian apartment, given the right pieces and the right intention, can feel like the most thoughtfully designed home you've ever had the pleasure of inhabiting.